Why can't the Democrats admit that China is our adversary? Why can't they stand up to them?
Hey guys, welcome back. So, in my last video, it turns out I was right to not trust Nancy Pelosi. It turns out that Nancy Pelosi did in fact lie about there being a briefing about Eric Swalwell before. Kevin McCarthy actually found out, just like the rest of us, about Eric Swalwell through the press.
Findings in the Eric Swalwell-Christine Fong matter. The minority leader had been asking to be brought up to speed on this all week, despite Speaker Pelosi's assurance that leadership was in the loop. When all of this unfolded back in 2015, McCarthy said he learned about it in the press along with the rest of the country. So he wanted a briefing. And after
McCarthy pushed for a briefing about it, and it finally happened today. He's pissed, and he is determined to let everybody know, who's willing to listen, that Eric Swalwell does not deserve to be on the Intel Committee.
And we were briefed together, Speaker Pelosi and myself, for more than an hour. I can't tell you about what's in it, but I can tell you this. What I learned today, and anyone who was in that room with me, would never allow Swalwell to be on the Intel Committee or to continue to be on it.
The committee is a special committee. It's a committee that keeps our secrets. It's a committee that's able to know our secrets. It's a committee that has a lot of information that members of Congress do not.
Kevin McCarthy and many other Republicans are starting to catch on to the fact that Democrats are in bed with China.
What are the actions that he takes? Just in this last month, you talk about John Radcliffe, the director of Intel, when he said that China is our greatest threat. Swalwell didn't say he was correct. Swalwell actually challenged him and said China is not. Now, he's a part of the Intel Committee, so he reads the reports that I read all the time as the Gang of Eight. Anyone who reads those reports would never make that accusation and would never say that. They would.
Eric Swalwell and that spy definitely slept together.
did they share with you whether or not this was a sexual relationship? We know that that was the case with two mayors, and obviously that, you know, it takes the level to a different level. Did they share that with you?
I cannot talk about what I learn in there.
Hopefully all of this gets properly dealt with, but at this point, I'm not going to get my hopes up. There's far too many people in our own government working for China at this point that I just have no faith in the future. So despite there being almost daily evidence coming out against Hunter Biden, the press, for the most part, still refuses to acknowledge it. At this point, it's actually pretty disturbing that they're still denying it. It's actually a very serious issue, and the more and more evidence that's released, it only gets more concerning.
Now their mission is not informing us, but in manipulating us. In fact, in brainwashing us to some degree, in moving along a certain kind of message, whether it is by omission, by not telling you about, let's say, the Chinese connection with Hunter Biden and that family, or it is in elevating someone up to try to cast them into different light. It really moves into an abandonment of a job that they have to do, which is directly linked into the security of this country, to the legitimacy of the government. And there's a point where it will all collapse, because now that we know what's happened, they are going along merrily along as though nothing can stop them. But there has got to be a point where this conversation gets to be very serious, because it is about election interference and it's about national security, especially when you're dealing with foreign interference and money going to politicians, that kind of dynamic.
It needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated properly, which again, don't have much faith that will happen. Joe Biden needs to be called out for his part in it. Hunter Biden's business partners were actually shown in text messages trying to get Joe Biden on board because he'd be useful for their cause. How the fuck is he really gonna sit in an interview, in every interview he does, and say that he doesn't know about his son's dealings with other countries? How does he have the balls to do that? We need to stop treating Joe Biden like he's so fragile. He wants to be president, then he needs to be criticized and he needs to be able to handle it. He needs to be able to answer questions. He knows what he did. And so for him to sit in every interview and just deny it is gross.
Going to try to use your adult son as a cudgel against you. How do you feel about that, and what do you have to say to those people?
We have great confidence in our son. I am not concerned about any accusations been made against him. It's used to get to me. I think it's kind of foul play, but look, it is what it is, and he's a grown man. He is the smartest man I know. I mean, in pure intellectual capacity, and as long as he's good, we're good.
Something that's definitely not getting even close to the coverage it should is China's cyber attack on Google.
Google was on the receiving end of an alleged cyber attack originating from China, in what was the major breach of its security infrastructure. Operation Aurora was the name given to a series of cyber attacks believed to have originated in Beijing, China, and said to have links to the People's Liberation Army, PLA.
According to Google, it was a very sophisticated hacking job. It was called Operation Aurora, and they still really don't even know how bad it is. They don't know how much information was taken. They just don't know the severity of it yet.
We've learned today that the attackers used a number of entry points and methods of entry beyond the software updates that were pushed to clients, for example, of Texas-based company SolarWinds. Can you imagine an agency responsible for the security of this country, its cybersecurity and infrastructure, could put out a lame message like they just did?
All roads seem to be leading back to China these days, and I'm actually really nervous about that. All of us should be. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I will see you guys next time.